You are standing in line at the grocery store on a busy Tuesday evening. The person in front of you is moving just a little too slowly, meticulously counting out change while the cashier waits. You feel your heart rate increase, your jaw tightens. You are suddenly overwhelmed by an intense wave of anger that seems entirely out of proportion to the situation. It feels completely irrational, but you cannot stop it. Then you realize the truth. You have not eaten in 6 hours. You are experiencing something deeply primal. The modern world casually calls it being hangry. But your brain does not see this as a minor inconvenience or a funny buzzword. Your brain sees this sudden drop in blood sugar as a life-or-death emergency. To understand why a delayed lunch turns you into a completely different person, you have to travel back hundreds of thousands of years. Imagine your ancient ancestors walking across a harsh, unforgiving savanna. Food was not guaranteed. Every single calorie was fought for. In this brutal environment, when food became scarce, those who remained calm and passive simply starved to death. Your brain evolved a brilliant, aggressive survival mechanism to keep you alive. When your blood glucose levels drop, your brain perceives an immediate threat to its very existence. It sends a panic signal straight to your adrenal glands. Your body releases a massive flood of stress hormones, specifically adrenaline and cortisol. These are the exact same chemicals that flood your bloodstream when you are being chased by a predator. Your body is literally preparing you to fight for your life, just to get your next meal. But the biology of being hangry goes even deeper than just stress hormones. Think about the last time you snapped at a friend because you were hungry. You likely felt a complete loss of self-control. This happens because of how your brain specifically manages its energy supply. Your brain takes up only about 2% of your total body weight, but it greedily consumes 20% of your total energy. It relies almost entirely on glucose to function properly. When your glucose drops, the very first part of your brain to suffer is the prefrontal cortex. This is the region located right behind your forehead. The prefrontal cortex is responsible for executive function, impulse control, and regulating your emotions. It acts as the brakes on your primal emotional reactions. Dr. Brad Bushman, a psychology professor at Ohio State University, conducted a fascinating study on this exact phenomenon. He measured the blood glucose levels of married couples over the course of 3 weeks. Then he gave them voodoo dolls representing their spouses. He told them to stab the dolls with pins based on how angry they were with their partner at that moment. The results were absolutely astounding. The participants with the lowest blood sugar levels stabbed the dolls with significantly more pins. Without enough glucose to power the prefrontal cortex, their brains completely lost the ability to control their aggressive impulses. Your brain literally lacks the fuel required to hold back your anger. Your ancient brain is prioritizing survival over being polite. In the wilderness, if you are starving, you do not need impulse control. You do not need to be nice to the people around you. You need the aggressive, relentless drive to hunt, gather, and compete with others for survival. Your modern brain is running a prehistoric survival script while you are just waiting for a sandwich. Furthermore, there is a fascinating genetic link between hunger and emotion. Research by geneticist Dr. Stephen O'Rahilly at Cambridge University has shown that the genetic pathways controlling appetite are deeply intertwined with those controlling mood. The survival of the human species relied heavily on this connection. If hunger did not make you feel incredibly uncomfortable and aggressive, you would lack the biological motivation to secure food. This brings us to another fascinating chemical, neuropeptide Y. Dr. Amanda Salas, a researcher at the University of Sydney, has extensively studied the biology of hunger. Her research reveals that the release of neuropeptide Y, a brain chemical that stimulates eating behaviors, also happens to regulate anger and aggression. When you are starving, your brain pumps out massive amounts of neuropeptide Y to force you to find food. But the side effect is that it makes you incredibly irritable. Your brain is aggressively rewiring your emotional state, to make you fight for a scarce resource. When you think about the concept of hunger, you probably picture your stomach grumbling. You might imagine that physical emptiness. But true hunger does not start in the stomach. True hunger starts in the brain. The brain is constantly monitoring the nutrients in your bloodstream, acting like a biological thermostat. When glucose levels drop below a critical threshold, the brain sounds the alarm. It shuts down non-essential functions. It diverts all remaining energy to the systems that will help you secure food. This is why it becomes nearly impossible to focus on a spreadsheet or listen to a conversation when you are hungry. Your brain is literally refusing to waste precious energy on anything other than finding a meal. This extreme prioritization is what kept humanity alive through brutal winters and devastating famines. The people who survived were not the ones who patiently waited for food to arrive. The survivors were the ones who became restless, irritable, and fiercely determined when their stomachs were empty. We are the descendants of the hungriest, angriest survivors. This ancient wiring is still active in you today. The next time you find yourself getting furious at a minor inconvenience, take a step back. Ask yourself when you last ate. Your brain is a masterpiece of evolution, but it does not understand that you live in a modern world with supermarkets and delivery apps. It only understands that glucose is dropping, and it must fight to survive. So the next time you feel that intense, irrational rage bubbling up because your meal is delayed, do not feel guilty. You are not losing your mind. You are experiencing the powerful echo of an ancient survival mechanism that kept your ancestors alive. Your brain is simply trying to protect you, using the only alarm system it has. You just need a snack.